Hello, welcome to today's video. We are on page number 281 of the Keyboard Musicianship, Book 1. Today's piece is called Ritornella by Henry Cook. So as you can see here, we are in the key of F major, and we have four systems. This one is a little tricky because we have offset rhythms that are similar to each other, kind of like a little bit of a canon or contrapuntal style writing here. But let's go ahead and take a look at the harmony. What we can do is, if we want, we can see this as, because this is in two-part harmony mostly, each beat as one chord. So that's a more complicated way of thinking about this. However, for today, let's go ahead and think about this as one chord per measure instead of per beat. So I went ahead and looked at the first measure, and if you want to think about each beat being one chord, in the key of F major, a C by itself, I suppose, would be the dominant. A and F, that's the tonic, but in first inversion. Once again, C with a G up on top in the melody, and we can see that also as the dominant. But if we think about it that way, I think it's going to overcomplicate it a little bit. So what we're going to go ahead and do and just think about everything as one chord per measure. So with that being the case, let's see measure number 2. We have F, A, and C, and we see that's an F major chord. Next measure, we have the notes that will mostly create a dominant 7th chord in F major, which is a C7 because of this B flat. We also have this A, but we're going to go ahead and just see that as a neighboring tone. And on measure number 4, once again, just like this one here, similar, we have FAC arpeggio with an F in the melody being an F major chord. Now here on the second system is where we have our first secondary dominant. We see we have A repeated 3 times in the melody, and we have an A, C sharp, not part of F major, and a G. A, C sharp to G, we know those are the main or the most important notes of an A7 chord. So that is a dominant 7 chord, but because that does not exist in F major, it has to be a dominant of some other scale degree, and we see that it is the dominant of the 6th scale degree. And so the 6th scale degree is D in F major. When we have a dominant 7 of a scale degree, in proper analysis or in proper harmony and voice leading, we should resolve to that chord in the next measure, which is what we do here. We go to D minor in measure number 5 right here. Excuse me, measure number 6. And then once again, it does the exact same thing to really solidify and drive the point home that we want this to be dominant 7 of 6 and then resolving to D minor. Usually, if something like this were to happen, we would transpose to a new key. D minor would become the new tonic. But we're not going to do that in this simple little tune. In the third system, something very similar. We also have a secondary dominant, but this time it's just dominant 7 of the dominant. The dominant of F major is C major, and we see that we have G, B natural, and an F, G7. The dominant of C major, which is the dominant, is G major, with the repeated G's in the melody. And then it resolves, as it should, to that dominant, C major. And then once again, it does the exact same thing. And then it resolves once again to C major. Usually when it does something like this, it would say this would now become the new tonic of C major. But we're not going to do that because we're going to go right back to F major once again. Most of the notes here are for F major. Same thing for that one, which is why I didn't write anything. And then we have the regular dominant of the key of F major, C7 once again, just like we did up there. And then we resolve to the regular tonic of F major. So as you can see, very nice harmony, the notes do move around quite a bit in the melody and in the bass, so it is going to be a little tricky to transpose this up a second to G major. Once again, when thinking about transposition by sight, the first thing you need to think about is the scale degrees. So we start with the first note. In the first measure, we see that the C there is scale degree number 5. When it starts in C, we would transpose up to D. But before we play this one in its new key, let's go ahead and take a listen to what it sounds like in the key of F major. Okay, here we go. Legato in the right hand, non-legato in the left. Once again, we have an offset rhythm going on for both hands. So try to really concentrate on the notes and rhythms individually. We start with finger number 3, there in the bass, on beat number 2. All right, so in the right hand, we are going to be playing all 5 fingers stretching out to an octave, so be prepared. We are going to be moving a little contrary to each other. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And then, of course, we have a repeat sign. Let's just go ahead and take that repeat. Sure, which I didn't do the first time around, to lift from the F after 2 beats because it is a quarter note. Next system. Very good. Alrighty, so we have the harmony in the left hand. It's all non-legato. A few stretches here and there. And in the right hand, legato with little phrases here and there. Remember to lift in between the slurs. Now, once again, when transposing to the key of G major, thinking about the scale degrees, we started on the dominant of F. The new dominant of G is now D, and we will have to stretch up a fourth, a second, and then ultimately an octave. So have your hand stretched out for those first 5 notes. We also will start on the mediant, or the 3rd scale degree of G major, which is that B right there. Okay? Think about the scale degrees, change them according to the key. Also, look at your harmonies, make sure that the notes will belong to those harmonies, as we've written underneath. And then, of course, the last thing would be to mentally push the notes in your mind up a second, up a major second. Maybe that will help out too. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about playing this Ritornella in the new key of G major. Let's do it slowly, okay? Get your hands in position. These will be the first 5 notes in the right hand. A 3rd skip in the left hand starts like that. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Once again. Okay, moving down, we have the dominant 7 of 6, scale degree number 6 in the key of G major. We see as E, so the dominant of E will become B major. We have that C sharp. It's now going to become a B major without the 5th right there. So be prepared for that, moving the right hand up to that B. Solidifying the B, being repeated 3 times. Here we go. System 2. dominant 7 of the dominant. Dominant of G major is D, and that will become A major right there. Okay. Okay, going to dominant, which is D major right there. Repetition from the beginning. Having to rely a lot when we get confused about scale degrees is to push the notes up a second in our minds. All right, so this is what the transposition was. Remember to think about all the points, the analysis, the chords of each measure. Also think about the scale degrees of each note, pushing the note up a second in your mind. And then we'll see you next lesson. Bye.